Hello everyone, this is teacher Park Seni, the representative of Park Seni Mind Coaching. Today, I'd like to talk about aptitude. This is going to be very important, so please listen carefully, and I hope it helps you a lot. First of all, both parents and students have many concerns about aptitude. I want to know quickly what my child's aptitude is. It's completely natural and necessary for students to want to quickly discover their aptitude so they can live a wonderful life in that field. However, there are some incorrect ideas. For example, from the perspective of people who are not very successful now, they think that they became rich because they did something that suited their aptitude. Then he is having a hard time living because he is doing a job that does not suit his aptitude. I think about this a lot, but I want to clarify that this is a significant misunderstanding. So how can we find out what kind of work suits our aptitude? So what do people usually do? It's an aptitude test. At school, they often have students take aptitude tests, and in more affluent households, they might even go to a psychiatrist or another institution to get a separate aptitude test. But if you look closely at these aptitude tests, they're just checking off O or X on a piece of paper. It looks like you've checked it out, and it looks like this job might suit you. People really believe that this works. It's strange for someone to accept that a simple box check on a piece of paper can determine what kind of work suits them, and I feel a bit sorry for those who claim that. So let me explain. What is more important than just checking off what's suitable or not on a piece of paper? To find out your aptitude, you need to put in your best effort in that field, with sincerity for about 2 or 3 years starting from a young age. If you don't sincerely and consistently engage in a particular field for about 2 to 3 years, it's only natural that you won't discover your aptitude. That's the bottom line. You really need to commit to doing something sincerely and properly, but unfortunately, for most people, that doesn't happen. In my 20s, I was involved in a class that focused on creating a future plan, but it wasn't about discovering my aptitude. I first had the thought that I absolutely had to achieve this, and to achieve that, I thoroughly and properly carried out the things that needed to be done first, and eventually, I achieved it. When others see you doing well, they will say things like, "Oh, this person found a job that suits their aptitude and did it well." So, to find your aptitude, you need to have genuine passion. Only those who have a clear and proper perspective or attitude towards life will truly discover their aptitude. I could explain that part in more depth, but that would require looking into each individual's life and providing proper counseling to offer more substantial help. Now, let me share another important point in that context. As I said before, from the perspective of people who are not rich, they think that that person found a job that suited his or her aptitude and did it, but I couldn't find one, and therefore am not rich. I have investigated this and found out how foolish and nonsensical this is. Do you know what the most obvious difference is when you look at rich people and poor people? It's the level of enjoyment they get from their work. Rich people really enjoy their work, but poor people don't enjoy their work. People often use expressions like living a life that's barely surviving. I find it much more enjoyable and fulfilling when I guide my students and support them mentally, so these people never retire. Even if they make a lot of money, they never retire. It's because I know that the joy and passion I get from my work is much greater than what I would get from any other hobby or activity. So that's why they can keep immersing themselves in their work and work hard at it. But poor people are really fed up with it. You have to do it whether you like it or not, but I really want to go on a cruise abroad quickly, which is impossible. That's because if others don't feel a strong impact from the performance of what that person is doing, and they dislike it, then it can't really inspire anyone. That's why, if you just keep giving small amounts of money, you won't be able to save much. Of course, things like traveling or enjoying life become almost impossible. So, you need to enjoy your work. So, you might be wondering about that. You're probably curious about what led these aspects to make rich people wealthy. Right. The first one was a chance opportunity. The person who said this was 29%. The second most common reason was that they became wealthy through trial and error. This was 27%. But you probably realized that it was also something they ended up doing by chance through trial and error. The third reason was that it was related to their previous work. 11%. This also means that I ended up doing something related to the work I was already doing by chance. The fourth reason is that I seized an opportunity that my boss missed. You know that this is also a matter of chance, right? In the end, it's those who were able to enjoy the work they happened to do by chance who became wealthy. So, what is the reason that poor people end up doing the work that keeps them poor? Those who are quick-witted probably got the answer right away. That's also a matter of chance. They end up doing something they stumbled into, and it's just so boring and exhausting without any joy. And that's how they end up poor. So why do students take the college entrance exam? It's something you happen to see. It wasn't the students who created the college entrance exam. Why do people go to college? It's also something you happen to do. There were people around encouraging you to go to college, and there were also parents pushing you to do so. Why do people start businesses? Even that may be by chance. With some motivation, you may start a business by chance, or you may get a job by chance and enter that field by chance. Everything will happen by chance like this. And in this part, some people will have fun and others will not have fun. Now, let me pose a very important question about this. Even when doing the same work, it's clear that some people become wealthy because they find it enjoyable, while others remain poor because they find it unenjoyable. So, the important question is, what factors determine the enjoyment of the work even when it's the same job? If you were to ask this question, there are people who have the knowledge to explain the answer completely and correctly, and then there are those who either don't know much about it, haven't thought about it at all, or just have a vague understanding and let it slide. Who will be more successful? This is one of the main thoughts that divide life and create the gap between the rich and the poor. Before I give you the answer, I want to say that no matter how much I tell you the answer, it will definitely take time for the mindset around this to become strong, concrete, and unwavering. And only by receiving proper feedback from those who live so wonderfully can we fundamentally improve. But since we're talking about risks, let me tell you the answer. Even when doing the same work, the factor that determines the enjoyment of the work is how thoroughly and properly you prepared before experiencing it. Did you all understand? Even if it's just a regular online game, the person who has learned the basic controls beforehand will find it enjoyable. It's exactly the same. When we live our lives, those who thoroughly understand and embody the most important principles and truths beforehand will find that everything goes well and is incredibly fun and exciting. So, during that process, money will start to come in, at least in the hundreds of millions. But what can you do if you don't prepare thoroughly in advance? If no one prepares thoroughly like that, it's absolutely impossible to succeed. So, who is the one that determines the enjoyment? It's me. I become the one who determines my own enjoyment. But most people don't really know this fact and live in forgetfulness. Ask others, is this fun? Isn't it fun? That's not the kind of question to ask. Asking someone who really enjoys what they do, how they can make it even more enjoyable, is a wise question and action. But asking people who live without enjoyment, is this fun, is a different story. Isn't it fun? If you ask them, they'll all say it's not fun. And if you're not in the mindset to learn the same way, then that's a very foolish question. So you should think that everything is fun and cultivate that attitude of giving your all and doing your best from a young age. If students are watching this video right now, remember to study in a way that's enjoyable. Saying things like math is boring or English is boring is quite unfortunate. You experience things after thoroughly preparing, then you'll start to feel more and more enjoyment. If entrepreneurs or parents are watching, you need to keep this in mind. You shouldn't carelessly tell children, colleagues, or subordinates that something is fun or not fun in a disappointing way. Fun is something I decide, and if you are a leader and show me how to do it after thoroughly preparing in advance, then the people in charge will follow along well, and your children will follow along well too. Let me say this again. This part is just the outline, and for this part to be properly absorbed into the subconscious and utilized properly, education requires more complex and careful processes. Anyway, I hope this was really helpful, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.